I would like to welcome everyone to the February 2023 meeting of the City of Reading Historical Architecture Review Board. Thank you for your attendance this evening. Chapter 295 of the City of Reading's Codified Ordinances requires that the HARB be guided by the United States Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, Chapter 180. Construction codes and by any policies and or guidelines hereafter adopted by the board or the City of Reading. While meetings of the HARB are generally informal, Robert's rules of order are used to structure the proceedings and maintain decorum. All attendees are asked to turn off their cell phones and electronic devices until adjournment of the meeting. The audio portion of these proceedings will be recorded for record keeping purposes. When an applicant hears the name of his or her property called by the chair, they should come to the front and sign the paperwork, sign the sign-in sheet. The chair will recognize the applicant when the time is appropriate for him or her to present any supporting information to the board. Applicants are limited their presentation to 3 minutes. All right, meeting minutes from the previous meeting. We don't. All right, I guess we're gonna get started here. The first applicant,
Do you guys look at the door first?
yeah, please, thank you.
For noise purposes.
The first applicant is for 725 Center Avenue, City of Reading.
Welcome back.
Oh, no. I'm gonna turn the chair over to Erin right now, so moment. Ms. Weller, thank you.
This is item number 1 on the review board agenda, and tonight we are reviewing the proposal for the installation of a fountain in the Center Park. This item was tabled at the January 17th meeting, and the Secretary of the Interior standards that apply to this project are number 2. The historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. Number 5, distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques are examples of craftsmanship that characterize a historic property shall be preserved. Number 6, deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a distinctive feature, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Replacement of missing features shall be substantiated by documentary, physical, or pictorial evidence. And number 10, new additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired.
Okay, you're welcome to make your presentation.
So we are back, at the close of the last meeting, we had offered to present the lower fountain presentation as well as the alternate fountain. I will apologize up front that as we looked through the budgeting of not only the design aspect, but also the construction aspect, the alternate fountain just did not fit in the budget. So we did not provide that alternate rendering as requested. What you see before you now is the renderings of the original 12-foot fountain and then the alternate rendering of the 8'3" fountain with the references to the people as well as the lampposts in both renderings. The trees are showing as a mature tree. Obviously, they will start off as a much younger tree and get to that point. So the city is putting forth the consideration for the height of the fountain and requesting a recommendation and approval from the board thereof.
Okay, thank you. If, at this time, if there's some public comment. Welcome that now, if you like. Anybody? You are, okay, all right, by all means, you can consider stand or wherever you like, whatever you're comfortable with, okay.
My name is Fritz Rothenmel. I was educated as an architect, but most of my career I've spent as a city planner, worked for the city for 28 years or so. Did a lot of open space design, including numerous parks and playgrounds and some of the bike trails and bike lanes on the street, whatever for the city. And what I'd like to do is just take a couple minutes and talk about the central space of the park. In the 1970s, improvements were made to that space to create a more personal and interactive gathering and seating area. 9 lights were interspersed with the 9 linden trees that had been planted in the circle in 1946 around that central area. In addition, there were benches that were pairs of benches that were faced inward to the center of the area, as well as a low evergreen hedge. And those elements were put in there to help buffer the area from the noise and activity on adjacent streets and the open play areas of the park. The focal point of that particular space was a low profile, pretty innovative fountain. It was made up of materials that were representative of the architecture in the neighborhood. There were sandstone boulders that were they were selected from a quarry in the southern part of Berks, and they were randomly distributed in a concept, in a design that was developed, along with a whole bunch of fountain nozzles of various shapes and sizes. And the resulting fountain, again, very low key, low profile, but there were, I guess, 9 or 10 elements, water elements that came out of these nozzles. Half of them were jets, some of which went as high as 8-10 feet and lower, and then the others were sprayed. So there's a variety of all these types of water elements. And unfortunately, over the period of a couple of years, there was a lot of vandalism that occurred, and the fountain heads were jammed with sticks and other debris so that they no longer worked, and eventually the brass heads themselves were stolen. People put debris in the recirculating parts of the fountain so that it went into the pumping system and eventually broke that down. And so it was turned off. The unforeseen benefit of the rocks and the sculptural elements of that was that it became a creative play area for kids. And every day in nice weather, there are kids climbing all over this place and running around, and it's really a nice feature. Sorry to digress about the space. What I'd like to say is I support having a small Victorian type fountain placed in that central area. I think it's not the same as the low profile that was originally designed, but it still is an element that I think would be a good feature. I think that it's important, whatever that feature is that's in the middle of that space, that it enhance the space and not overwhelm it. And my concern is with the larger fountain, that it becomes a dominant object. And we're really talking about the space. This element is not supposed to be a major feature of the park itself, but of that more intimate space. And I think that's important to remember. I also have a couple of questions, if I may ask the architecture or the designer. In the last HARB meeting, it became apparent that the plan that was presented to the HARB had only 7 trees and 7 lights around that circle in the middle of the design. And I have been on the Center Park Master Plan Committee. I don't remember having a discussion of, or having that plan presented or approved by that master plan committee. And I guess my question is, I know I missed some meetings, and was that plan presented and approved to the Center Park Master Plan Committee?
You were actually there at that meeting and you made a comment about there only being 7 lights and 7 trees.
Sorry.
And then after, you kind of objected to it. And then as the meeting went on, you said, well, if you do 7 lights, then just do 7 trees. Do you remember saying that?
No, I don't, but I'm old. I don't remember saying that.
Well, and the reason that 7 are used versus the 9, several reasons. One is cost savings, being able to use new LED lights, and the throw or how the optics work on those allows for it to spread out over kind of a designed area. So the way those optics work, they're designed for the sidewalk around the fountain area. So if I could save this, if I could save $15,000, I didn't see a reason to put 9 lights plus 2 additional trees on, was my reasoning.
So at that meeting, what was the date of that meeting, by the way?
Oh boy, it was probably in October.
Did that meeting keep minutes? Were there minutes kept for those meetings at all? Or they were,
Don't know.
okay.
It's relevant because I missed a couple meetings and I need to have my memory refreshed about being there. I guess my final comment is, did they approve it? I mean, was it a formal approval of the plan?
What's that? What?
Was it at that
7
meeting or every
7
meeting was there a formal approval of the plan?
No, there was no formal approval asked for or granted.
Okay, and was there a formal presentation and review by the Center Park Historic District
Yes,
organization?
yes, there was meetings with the planning team as well as with the general public.
Okay. I feel that when this is implemented, I think that it distills the historical integrity of the park. There have been 9 trees there since 1946. And granted, they get old and they need to be replaced, but I think they should have been replaced in kind of number. And I also think that it challenges to some extent the relevance of the historic preservation ordinance itself. Because, to me, this is a historical precedent that's been set with those numbers of trees and then the lights, which have been there for almost 50 years. And to reduce that number, I think is inappropriate, but that's my opinion. So that's
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
If I can.
Yes, please, yeah.
In reference to that, even though it was approved to the overall plan at the last HARB meeting, with the exception of the fountain, Alex and I did go back and look at what would be the requirements for us to increase it to 9 lights and 9 trees. And we did determine that we would have to relocate water supplies, ballot boxes, drains, and electrical from the original plan, which again, we're going back to adding design costs. So I don't want to dismiss the concept at all, that we did look into it, but it was not feasible to do that design after the fact.
And well, I appreciate your comments and the context. I think having probably had that information last month may have been helpful for us as a board to maybe consider that a little bit differently. I just want you to know that I want to make sure that Mr. Rothwell's comments are taken into the record. In addition to that, we understand there was a you had submitted a letter, Dave,
Yes.
and then the legal office had also vetted that out and said under those circumstances, you can have relief from the motion that we passed for designing an alternate fountain. So we are just here to discuss the size, understanding the sensitivity to what its scale means relative to the park and the size of the park, and those that interact and have a really important part, that the park is a really important part in their life. And we want to make sure that we're being sensitive to all of those things, just as we're learning more and gathering some more information. So I'd like to open it up to the other two board members if there are any questions about the proposal that they have come back and given us what we've asked for. And again, I think there's, based on the legal recommendation, they have relief from having to submit another fountain, a different fountain, even though there was a great deal of discussion about that at our last meeting. So
The only question I have is the original one being on the right hand side and then the alternate on the left. What is I can see the height clearly is the difference. What's the diameter difference from one to the other?
The diameter of the larger.
The larger shell.
Larger shell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lower bowl on the largest shell was only 6 inches difference from fountain to fountain. The distance between the bowls is actually what changed most of the height.
Okay.
The outside seating wall of 21-foot diameter does not change in either design. It's only a matter of
Clearly
I believe
is.
it's 7.5 versus 8-foot diameter for the largest bowl.
So clearly it's just shorter.
Correct.
Thank you.
And to that point as well, and to Mr. Rothmel's point of, I think when Alex and I and even the mayor were thinking about this, we were thinking about the fountain being the central point. And with what Mr. Rothmel is saying, that the park in general is the central point. I think that does change the perspective a little bit from our stance as well.
So are you saying then that you, at this point, you're looking for a lower fountain or
We would be glad to take your acceptance and recommendation for either fountain and move forward to build the project.
what do the people want?
We have been back and forth. I believe they were very much 50-50 at most of the community meetings.
Yeah, I just came in case there were questions. Yeah, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, that I believe that there's probably a fair amount of people that are in favor of the smaller one, and a fair amount of people that are in favor of the larger one, and there's probably an equal number that don't have an opinion one way or another, that they like the idea of a fountain, and it would be up to the design team or whatever to decide on what was appropriate. So I'm not sure that answers your question about the people. But
What it comes down to is, is it gonna be, what is my personal opinion gonna be? And I'd really like to not have my personal opinion, have a bearing on what the actual people who live in that area want.
I think
Sitting here and looking at it, with the height of the fence and the height of the fountains and stuff like that. The taller one it stands up a little bit more. Where the fence seems to cover a lot of the lower one. So, I mean, this is what it comes down to.
And they're both sitting on the same height of a pedestal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think based on some of the opinion of some of the other board members and some of the input that was provided, in addition to what Mr. Rothmel had said, it seems from a scale and from an appropriateness, that the shorter fountain would be in better keeping and really honor the history of the park and the size of the park and the way people interact and enjoy the park. So that's at least, I think, from a professional and from someone who's been living in the district, whose basically front yard is the park. I respect a great deal with what those opinions are, and what the residents of the district say, that are really invested, I think, in the size, in the size of the fountain. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Rothman, I'd like to say something.
I've lived across the street from that park 50 years. I look at that, I can all my front windows.
I drive by it. I'm very familiar with the park, but it's not like I spend any time there.
Yeah, appreciate.
Yeah,
your point of view. I mean, one of the nice things about the park is it's low, it is small scale stuff and putting, a man-made object that's big in the middle of it. I don't think, from a design point of view, not only a personal, but it's a design point of view, I think it's out of scale.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do either of you have any other questions? No. Concerns, objections? No. Okay. Would one of you like to make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go with the lower bound.
Okay, as proposed in the Caesar style. Yep, 8'3" in Caesar style. Okay. All right, very good. And if you wouldn't mind, if you could also just add to the motion that basically what I said before, which is like, based on the city's submittal of a letter and the legal office vetting that they've been relieved from having to design a new fountain. Or you can use those words and put that into the motion. Would that be okay?
Yes,
Add that
that's
to your
fine.
motion? Okay,
Yep.
all right, pretty good. And is there a second on that? Okay, great. So Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Yes, okay, and Mr. Roosevelt, yes, and if you need my vote, that would be yes, but I don't think we need it, so motion passes for the 8'3" 4" in Caesar design. Okay. All right, thank you, thanks for coming in tonight, thanks for working through all the things that we've talked through, yes.
One last thing, thanks to the board for letting me see.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, I'm glad to do that, okay, have a good evening.
That's what.
Okay.
I am together. Oh, it's like, yeah.
Here from 532 Franklin Street. All right, looks like, thank you.
Yeah.
The next applicant is.
No, I just said, yeah, we can go to the next.
Okay, next applicant is 620 South 7th Street.
Sí, es injusto. Sí, es injusto.
Do you need the translator? She does.
Yeah, she
Okay.
does. And I'll let them get set up.
Okay.
Pasa es que para poner el libro derecho, te lo cuelga y lo postamos.
Oh, and I yield the chair back to Ms. Walker.
Sorry about that.
So it's all right. Could you ask her to sign the gentleman's name too? Or right-
Yeah, he might so. Okay. I can't get a signal, but it's okay. I'll just interpret for her in the consecutive mode. It's fine. Ready? All right, ready, okay.
This is item number 3, which is 620 South 7th Street. And tonight we are reviewing the proposal for the rehabilitation of the rear commercial structure. And the Secretary of the Interior guidelines that, Secretary of the Interior standards that apply to this project are, if I just list the numbers, do you have the information to read? Okay. Sorry, number 2. Which I read earlier, but I'll let you interpret.
And number 5, you said?
2, 5, 6, and actually in the HARB window policy, but you just have to interpret 2, 5, and 6.
So I have them here, so I'll just read them.
That's perfect,
El
yes.
comité ejecutivo revisó los dibujos de la elevación a escala presentados para una cuenta propuesta. This is the- Sí, estoy. Sí, estoy.
Oh, that's, yeah, that back.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. That's what I guess.
They're not doing anything from here to here.
Esta es una de las cámaras de posterior y la parte comisaria de la estructura. Para información para bajar. Para un mejoramiento de esa revisión. Son las tejas de asfalto, aunque pueden ser encontradas a diseño original, que tiene el libro completo con la configuración. Hay un techo, todo eso de las patas de cara, el techo se ha quedado con decorativas que han sido reemplazadas por la puerta de entrada en el primer piso, la fachada del una puerta que se con una manera sólida. El panel que fue instalado puede ser encontrado apropiado y necesita ser aprobado por las puertas de metal, pueden instaladas con puertas de seguridad, las ventanas tienen 2 ventanas de madera que han sido reemplazadas por una que tiene un vinilo blanco en la fachada. El vinilo blanco que fue reemplazado por las ventanas no es permitido porque no cumple con el requisito de la política de por eso el edificio tiene un índice de compósito bajo. Es posible que la junta se debe de plazo de madera o con algún material sustituto compatible, pero que no sea limitado a metal, madera o lo que es proporcionado que las nuevas tallas vayan de acuerdo a las características históricas de las ventanas, también por la política de las que ellos tienen. El caso de las ventanas deben ser 2 por 2 en configuración y deben concordar con las ventanas originales. La situación de las eso yo no lo toqué. El empañetado que está en la parte exterior del edificio ha sido pasado de una manera correcta y apropiada. La instalación de las de vinilo en el área de la fachada de la este de la estructura puede ser encontrado apropiado por la Junta de Preservación Histórica y necesita ser investigado con los materiales apropiados anteriores. La instalación de lo que le llaman I had looked up that word for bollard. Okay. Que van a ser de los pies de alto, que son propuestos que se han instalado en el lado oeste de los estacionamientos donde sea apropiado. El espacio debe ser los 2 pies entre cada uno de los colazos. Y puede ser hasta 5 pies, de 3 a 5 entre cada uno del espacio de cada uno de ellos. La instalación del estacionamiento para discapacitados accesible. con los letreros adecuados, la instalación de los letreros en la fachada que deben de estar incluidos en esta reunión. Y también el equipo va a investigar las instalaciones de las tejas de los lados de la estructura que mencionamos anteriormente.
You just went through the
I read the whole
executive
thing.
committee. Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to add one thing before Ms. Paris speaks, and that's just to note for the record that this project is coming to the review board as a violation. The work has already either been completed or is underway. The property did go before the zoning hearing board last week because the owner was seeking a variance to create a commercial space. So in the process of the zoning hearing board review, it was found that this work was being done.
Esto viene aquí a resultar con unas infracciones porque parte del trabajo ya ha sido completado y el resto es ya también. Usted estuvo presente en la junta que tuvieron en el zoning y porque usted estaba buscando que le dieran la aprobación para el espacio comercial. Yes.
So she can,
Usted puede hacer su presentación. I'm just going to give her instructions to please pause so that I can interpret everything that she's saying. Le voy a pedir que pueda empezar a expresar lo que usted quiera decir, pero que dé pausa para yo poder interpretar todo ustedes. Con relación a las ventanas tenían un panel cuando yo compré. As it relates to the windows, they had a panel when I purchased it.
there was plywood in the window.
Por la razón por la que yo la cambié, cuando iba a comprar, para que el banco aprobara, tenía que tener ventana. And the reason why I changed it, in order for it to get the bank approval, I have to have windows. Y yo no sabía que era histórico. I was not aware that it was historic. Hasta que Ruti me dijo. Until Ruti told me. Yo sé que tengo una cuantas propiedades en la ciudad, pero no ando pendiente que es histórico y que no es histórico. I do have some properties in the city, but I was not aware that this was a historic one. Sé que hice equivocado, pero estoy tratando de encontrar, después que hablé con Amy, la ventana, pero no se encuentra. Yo fui a... And I'm trying to find the windows, like I spoke to Amy, but they're hard to find. I went to Fifth Street. Entonces, la 5. La calle 5 de el artista, es una cosa histórica. The architectural place.
Artifacts bank, yes.
Entonces, la puerta, lo que había era otro panel con 2x4. Cuando le quitamos los tornillos, eso se cayó para el piso. The door, there was a 2x4 and it had some, when we removed the screws, it just fell apart. Pero era plywood también. It was also made of plywood.
In which there are two doors, which
Cuando las puertas, porque hay dos. Sí, las dos cosas que habían se cayeron, porque eso estaba con 2x4. Puertas estamos hablando. De frente. The front.
okay,
The double doors. Double.
Yes. Entonces, pues yo encontré estas en el basement y pues para tener algo. So I found those in the basement and to have doors.
the doors that you put on, you found in the basement.
Las que usted puso ahí las encontramos en el basement, pues yo las puse. Yes, I found them in the basement and I put them. Entonces, las ventanas que están aquí y en el lado también son una ventanita pequeña, pero lo que había era el hueco. No había ventana, madera ni nada. Okay, so the windows that are here, they're small windows on the side, but they were just a hole there. There were no windows.
Yeah, I don't know when they were last there, but the configuration of the wood windows were in place, but no glass, and there was plywood behind them.
No sé cuándo fue la última vez que tuvo las ventanas, pero la configuración tenía el vidrio y tenía el playboard en la parte de atrás.
Bueno, cuando yo compré, no,
When I purchased it, it didn't.
yo duré 9 meses esperando en contrato para comprar esa propiedad.
I waited 9 months in order to be able to get the contract to buy the property.
Cuando compré, dentro de esa propiedad, eso había muchísima mercancía de la otra gente, yo creo.
When I purchased it, there was a lot of merchandise inside the property that belonged to the prior owner, I believe.
El rufo, sé que lo puse porque el rufo estaba liqueando todo desde arriba hasta todo hasta abajo. So, el rufo viejo está ahí debajo.
So as far as the roofing, I had to replace a part of it because it was leaking and the water was coming in from the top all the way to the bottom. So the old roof is still there.
Los chingos que yo le puse son los... Se me olvidó el nombre. Yo le dije a ella, pero
The shingles that I use, I forget the name. I told you, but I forgot the name.
It's, they're architectural shingles, the asphalt architectural shingles that were on the building before. She just actually made it a more appropriate color.
Que son tejas de la arquitectura, pero que necesitan un color más apropiado.
eso me costó muy caro, eso no lo voy a
It's
cambiar.
really expensive,
Por el color, lamentablemente. Entonces,
but unfortunately the color.
este tubo de ahí, eso yo no lo toqué, eso estaba ahí.
The stucco there, I didn't touch, it was there.
Y el siding que yo puse aquí en este lado, eso estaba en papel, como que le iban a poner algo.
The siding, it was like paper, as if they were trying to put something on there.
Que también se estaba echando para él,
And it was also leaking inside.
pero puse el siding caro, no puse el barato.
But I put the expensive siding, not the cheap one.
Otra cosa, esta ventana que se ve aquí, que está ahí grande, los otros días se me cayó sola.
So this window that is on there, she's pointing to this window here.
On the larger.
It fell out.
Oh, the big window.
Like the picture.
Entonces,
Yeah, the
yo,
picture window.
sola.
On its own, it fell out.
Entonces, los hierros del frente ya yo lo quité, pero lo tengo para ponerlos adentro.
The iron on the outside, I removed them, but I have them to put them on the inside.
Esto se me falta remover el otro para ponerlo adentro también.
I need to remove the other one to put it on the inside as well.
Security doors.
Las puertas de seguridad.
Porque
Yes.
es que esa área allá abajo no es, pues todo el mundo sabe que no es una área tan buena. Entonces, cuando yo compré, ya se le metió a jugar.
Yeah, that area is just not safe. And when I purchased it, someone had broken into steel.
Por eso yo puse los hierros.
That's why I put the metal there.
Los barrotitos o barros que yo le pedí a ella la aprobación es porque yo tengo el servicio de grúa y cuando se parquean inapropiados, pues se tiran por encima de la acera.
No entiendo. Sorry, I don't understand. It's
Estos terrenos del parking aquí,
okay.
los barros van ahí. Y cuando yo tengo el servicio de towing,
Okay.
cuando las personas se parquean inapropiadas, que no se supone que se parqueen, viene en la grúa, los carros se tiran por encima de la acera.
Okay. Usted no quiere que se puedan traspasar por ahí.
Exacto.
Okay. So the bollards that she's requesting is because I have towing service. So if I don't put the bollards there, the cars, they can just drive over the sidewalk to try to leave.
Porque se tiran por encima de la acera.
Yes, they'll go over the sidewalk.
Where are the bollards gonna be along what street?
Sobre qué calle van a estar.
Minor streets, okay.
Ujú.
Gotcha.
Yo creo que más nada, lo que, esto, yo lo puse porque el que había se cayó también, que estaba podrido.
It looks like she's pointing to like the frame of an awning.
Oh, over the door, the double doors.
Mhm.
And the
Yes.
reason why I put that there is because of the previous one had also fallen off.
Estaba podrido la madera,
It was rotted. The wood was rotted.
se cayó, pues,
It fell off.
se pone algo.
Have to put something there.
There was a small roof with brackets, but if you look in the older pictures, they're more of a curved, a linear, like decorative bracket,
Pero como decorativas.
and what she put there is different.
Lo que usted puso es diferente.
Y puse 2x4 porque no pienso es madera,
I can't find the wood,
pero es el mismo size.
but it's the same size.
They were probably made, the brackets probably were made just for that roof, so it would have to be something that would be custom made.
Eso es algo que hay que mandar.
Pero si me dicen dónde lo hay, porque
And if you tell me where.
no lo sé.
I don't know.
Mira, hoy,
Ah.
hoy yo fui a otro sitio en Facebook que hay cosas viejitas y ahí yo encontré tampoco nada.
I went to another place in Fleetwood that sells old artifacts. I couldn't find anything.
It would be up to the board and their discussion what they would decide that she would have to do there, if anything.
Sé que la junta tiene que decisiones a ver qué es lo que van a hacer.
Is she done? Or-
Entonces, no. Entonces, otra cosa que yo en la 7 del sur, desde arriba hasta abajo, yo sé que eso es Prince. Ajá, es histórico. Pero entonces, si tú vienes y miras, que yo tengo retrato, todas las casas tienen ventanas de vinil.
So I
Y
was
hay
looking
siding.
in the Prince historical district, if you go up and down, a lot of the houses have vinyl siding and vinyl windows.
Mira, yo tengo los retratos.
I have pictures,
Entonces, y ese siding es más chico que el mío.
and that siding is cheaper than the one that I put up.
Mira, esa casa la renovaron y es ventana. Y
There's
mira,
a house that was just recently
y si,
renovated and it
y
has
si ve
vinyl
todas
windows.
esas, todas tienen ventana de vinil.
And if you look at all the houses, she's pointing to a row of houses and they all have vinyl siding.
No, siding, vinyl.
I'm sorry,
window.
vinyl windows.
Okay, we usually just give 3 minutes for that, so we're gonna move on here and then she can answer any questions that the board has.
Usan solamente 3 minutos para que usted pueda presentar y ahora vamos a ver si la junta tiene algunas preguntas.
I'm gonna open it up to the board. Do you guys have any questions?
Vamos a ver.
I do. When did you purchase the building?
Vamos a comprar el edificio.
Diciembre 14 del 20.
14 of 22.
22. Okay, so all that work that maybe we had previously approved, previous owner.
Yes.
Right, okay.
All three.
And,
Yes.
and in order for you to get your financing, you had to make improvements to the building immediately? What-
Poder conseguir el financiamiento, usted necesita hacer mejoras.
Si no lo va a poner pagado.
Yes, otherwise the bank
Okay.
would come.
All right, and you own other property in the city, is that right?
Usted tiene otras propiedades.
Okay.
En la Washington.
On Washington.
Okay, all right. So, it doesn't matter if you live in a historic district, when you're doing work to the exterior of your building, you need to inquire whether or not a building permit is required. So I assume, Go ahead, sorry, yeah.
En realidad no importa si está en una zona histórica o no. Siempre y cuando usted vaya a hacer cualquier mejora en la fachada o las estructuras de la propiedad, tiene que hacer una serie si necesita un permiso. De la ciudad para hacer.
Yo vine aquí para usted.
I came here and I asked,
Y algunas cosas no necesito permiso.
for some things I don't need to require.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If she weren't living in a historic district, would this work require a permit?
Some would and some wouldn't, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what might have happened if you were misinformed. I apologize for that if that's what happened. But it does. But it does leave us to this point, and in spite of the fact that there are other homes or buildings in that same historic district, we're only discussing yours tonight. There could be many reasons why those are the way they are, but we're only focusing on your building tonight.
Pero usualmente la Junta solamente se puede enfocar en la propiedad de la cual usted estamos hablando, porque puede haber muchos motivos por qué esas propiedades tienen que ser despachadas, pero hoy solamente los vamos a enfocar en usted.
I can answer I did research regarding the installation of vinyl siding. 'Cause we had-
Thank you, yes, yeah.
And I didn't miss a resolution before our last meeting.
Okay.
I didn't see it, but so. In 2016, the board approved, let me just find it, white vinyl siding to be installed at the second floor eastern facade of the rear building
Where that tarp is?
Yes.
Okay,
to match the existing vinyl siding at the rear southern
Yep.
facade of the main building in color, material, and dimension.
got it, okay.
If you look at the older picture, the dormer that's on the rear, the sides are covered in asphalt siding.
Yeah.
So it actually would be more appropriate to install vinyl siding. Perhaps, the siding that she installed was I think it's a double 4-inch Dutch slab,
Okay.
which the board typically
Okay.
approves, even though, and of course, she did not know that this was approved by
Right,
the board
yeah.
previously.
But so that work never got done and she did.
Right,
Okay.
right, but
And-
with a different.
Okay, I see, okay, so it doesn't match the
No,
exterior, I mean, the rear.
the rear,
of
that
the-
white,
Okay.
but
So pretty close.
I would say in reference to other projects and what the board typically approves.
Right,
They typically approve the double 4-inch Dutch lap because it's closer to wood side, the look of, or the style of wood siding that would have been.
Of the
Or
period.
might have been,
Yeah,
right,
okay, got
yeah.
it. Yeah,
So it's, even though it doesn't match, it's not
right, right,
inappropriate.
exactly, yeah, okay.
The painting that she's done to that back building is like a gray color.
Yes, and she did, that's on the staff approvals list, she did give me that, yes.
And the siding that she put on.
Wait a second, slow down a little bit because she's trying to.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, no, let's just slow that there.
You should see me in court.
I forget.
My question is the color of the siding that she installed. It is the proper type of siding, just that the color is different than what was approved.
Yeah,
6 years ago.
yes, white was approved
But,
in, right,
but the color that's there more or less matches pretty good with the painting that she has.
yes, yeah.
I'd say that's right, Mike, yes. And to Amy's point, she had said that the dormer was just a very strange looking dormer. It looks like a dormer for a door or something,
Yeah.
very tall.
It might have been like a fire.
It maybe, yeah, that's true. Was covered in shingles, but she had covered it in. Reclatted in the vinyl siding, which I think is actually a better choice. So, I have no objections to that. And then the larger picture window, in spite of the fact that the window's kind of falling out, clearly the historical pictures that you have there. That is not the original condition, but if she could leave that window, that's there. It wouldn't be inappropriate. It's basically an in-kind replacement other than the material, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Do you think that was a wood window that was there, at least whatever pictures you have?
In one of the older pictures, I even saw it was totally. Yes. And the former owner must have put glass in it.
It's.
Yes.
And then that's stucco, right?
That's plywood, actually.
Oh, is it next to it?
Yes, because this picture, you can see it's plywood.
Yeah.
And then they painted it.
Yeah, that's what's there, it's like a piece of wood.
So other than, do we think
It
that
was
that
like
was a
that.
wood framed window?
No,
I mean, in the whole. in
The second floor is
picture.
also vinyl, person is saying.
Okay, okay,
the large one is fine.
it's like, okay, all right. No, if it's challenging to know what that was, like if it was vinyl.
I think it
It's
was
like a piece of glass with like metal.
Okay, with metal frame around it,
like,
okay, you just put it, got it, okay.
might even be aluminum.
Okay, yeah. But vinyl still going to be a suitable replacement if we establish it.
Vinyl wouldn't be. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The style is
It would have-
okay, because it's basically replacing kind of the material, not,
Right.
yeah, right, right.
Yeah, my 2007 photo shows it completely blocked with wood.
Yeah, you have
No, I
that,
think
taken,
I-
that picture's good, I see that, yeah. Who knows what that original size was, could have been two windows that were.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that seems a little more likely,
Okay.
okay.
She wants to know if there's possible to have access to the old pictures.
Yeah, I can make copies for you, yeah.
Porque yo no,
Yeah,
pues yo la compré ahora, so puede años atrás yo
Yeah.
se la podía-
She has no point of reference.
okay, yeah, and that's what, yeah, thank you for that, and that's what we would be using as our, like, our historical kind of point in time, yeah.
Yo no he visto nada. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, okay, all right, no, I think it would be great, it's always good to see older pictures of your property, so that's what we use as. You know, our reference to understand what condition should be taken back to what materials. Or size of windows or style of windows. Or doors should be taken back to, so. It's not.
Okay.
So the siding, we believe is not a problem, right? If there's anybody have issues with siding, no. It's, the windows are an issue, but the window policy, because of the low composite rating, would allow us to, consider a less expensive material than wood, like a composite, but not vinyl. Vinyl would be appropriate. But we could do metal clad or composite. Provided that the window, the glass size and the window stashes replicate the original, at least the window that we saw in the older photos.
I'm just gonna show her.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah,
picture.
definitely.
The issue is where to get. them.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
Here is, I think this is from 2007, but this is, we're talking about 2/2 wood windows, the frames are in place and here and here and here.
Puertas, ventanas en
Y,
madera,
y,
tiene que armar.
y esto que voy a hacer.
And this part, what do I do?
If it's an aluminum frame right now, I think they're saying that that's okay, that as long as she just replaces the glass or the frame in aluminum,
Replace the.
the glass.
Aunque el marco puede ser.
It's aluminum, the glass is still good.
The glass is still good.
Just back,
Oh, okay.
Inside.
So it just needs to be,
try to put it back together.
yeah, that's fine, as long as you're using the same, the existing
Whatever.
material, yes, yes.
Y
Pero
este-
usa el material que existe. Y
Aluminum frames here.
Okay.
Fell out.
Pero
I
si
see.
ese pedazo
Got
que
it,
tiene
got it,
madera,
okay.
que entonces eso no tiene ventilación ahí,
Yeah.
y que hago este pedazo de madera.
So there's a part that's made out of wood, what do I do about that?
We're gonna,
Porque es que no entra ventilación ahí.
There's no ventilation.
Entonces eso está, la madera se está mojando y se va a pudrir también.
So the wood is getting wetter, it's gonna rot as well.
She would have to, and or correct me if I'm wrong, she would have to present a proposal to do some. She wants to change that window configuration anyway, yes. Yes, she would have to.
Just create a separate application.
present.
No,
a
no,
proposal.
yo lo dejaría ahí, pero yo lo que digo es la madera que se está pudriendo. ¿Con qué la voy a cubrir? ¿La voy a dejar así? Que se pudra.
I would leave it the way it is. I just want to know what to do about the part that's made out of wood because it's, if it continues to get wet, it's just going to continue to rot.
That's why I mean, she would have to present a proposal of what she would like to do with that, whether it's make another window. Or put something that's a better material in there.
This, the infill.
Yes, but because she would be proposing a different material, she has to present that to the review board. Tonight, we're,
Talking about the existing house.
Yes. Tonight, we are reviewing the existing windows that she replaced with vinyl.
Pero ahora solamente estamos repasando las ventanas que existen, pues la repaso.
Y si quiero poner
Yeah.
But she is.
Yeah, she.
Well, it's right, because like,
Right.
right out, or, yeah, but yeah, oh, yeah.
They should have asked that before last.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep. No, no, no.
It's on that, that headroom having a little confused. I mean, like, I know what's not for just.
Right, it's just
what
black
to-
metal.
Right, yeah. There is something, but just an inverted, just a.
Yeah.
Just a bracket. Like
Right.
that, just on the side,
Mhm.
there
Right.
was something stopped or something.
Oh, yeah, they
easy
have that.
That could be
separate doors and
fabricated,
stuff.
yeah. Okay.
It's the way it was
Right.
built. It's-
Yeah, yeah,
It's
right.
not design wise, it's.
yeah, I agree. It was kind of farmhouse,
Yes.
yeah. But there was a metal, I guess I didn't notice that earlier.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it looks like a wood.
I see.
Can you see it?
I
You
see a
had
lot
one.
up here,
It's like
yeah.
a block or something.
Yeah, the new, what she put in there.
I'm just looking at the old.
So the old one is definitely a curve.
Is it, okay,
Right. Yeah, it's just a, like a.
Right.
You can see the-
Yeah, if you guys are okay.
She's has a question.
okay,
Is she allowed to put the entry doors, the two double doors, is she allowed to use a material that's safer? She's concerned about it being broken into.
The metal, the double doors with the metal on the outside.
No, los metales yo los voy a poner adentro para tratar de reemplazar adentro, pero como ya los había puesto instalado afuera, no creo que caigan adentro. Si ellos me aprobaran las puertas sólidas, no de metal, de madera sólida, yo las ponía sólidas, que eso que es joven.
So, I attempted to put the metal on the inside, or I would like attempt to put the metal on the inside. I don't know if I'm able to do that with the metal that's already on the outside. But would it be possible to have wood doors, solid wood doors there? So that they're safer.
they're more secure.
Porque es que yo creo que los metales, eso me costaron caro mandarlo a hacer, costaron 1900 y no creo que me caigan ahora adentro.
The metal that is on the outside, they were about 1900, so I don't know if they'll fit on the side.
Porque cuando ellos cogen su medida, ellos setean dónde van a poner todas sus cosas afuera y adentro. No creo que me lo
Yeah, when they take the measurements, they take the measurements for the wood. They're on the outside, so I don't know if they'll fit on the inside as well.
Unfortunately, that this is a symptom of just doing work and not understanding the local. Ordinance or regulations that are in place in the area that the property is. So I'm gonna go ahead and, if it's okay with the chair, make a motion And then I'll walk through each one of these in the same order that the notes are. And I'm just let me like walk through the whole motion without interruption. And just know that if the board does agree to my motion and there are things in here that she needs clarity on it, I may say, hey, we may need to refer some recommendations like at staff level. But she always has the option to appeal at this decision, okay? So just know that it may be the board's decision, but if she chooses within the required time frame to appeal, it's possible that city council may see things differently. But just know that we're guided by standards and guidelines, and we have to use historical reference to understand what the original condition and materials were, and that's our obligation to ensure properties maintain that integrity.
Lo que pasa es que a veces no entendemos cuáles son las ordenanzas y reglamentos que existen, especialmente cuando se trata de una propiedad que es histórica. Yo voy a presentar una moción, luego voy a pedir que me permita hacer una siguiente versión, y luego si hay algo con el cual usted no está de acuerdo, los que usted tiene derecho a apelar, voy a tratar de ser lo más claro posible y a ver cuáles son las recomendaciones que quiere hacer la Junta. Hay algunas cosas que quizás puedan ser aprobadas a nivel de el equipo, y también nosotros nos guiamos por las pautas designadas por el estándar que nos presenta lo que guía a la Junta Histórica. Entonces es posible que el Consejo pueda aprobar algo diferente a lo que nosotros recomendemos, pero nosotros tenemos unas pautas que son muy específicas, que tienen que ir a la base histórica, la condición preexistente y la integridad de cómo están las cosas.
Okay, all right. So I move to issue a COA, a certificate of appropriateness, for 620 South 7th Street for the following. So I'll just preface each one, whether it's a denial of the work that's there or we can move forward with it. Okay. So for the main and dormer roof, for the installation of the architectural shingles, I would be in favor of retaining that. That was an appropriate choice. Okay, all right. And then as far as the double front entrance doors, that would be a denial of what was installed. And the recommendation would be a door, full light, or what we call a full glass door, in the style that a very simple door in the style that was previously there. Full glass in wood, with the installation, it may require some fabrication or some removal of material, but with the installation of the metal gates behind, like inside the building, not outside. And then a denial of the brackets that were used on the pent roof. I'm not going to take issue with the roof itself. I think that's okay. And this may be a little bit tricky, but we would ask for a metal bracket of some type. I think what we can do is perhaps Miss Johnson can guide you in sources for this. I understand, like, financially it'd be difficult to try to replicate it there, but if you can find something that may be existing, what I would be able to do is allow Ms. Johnson to review some choices if she needs some input. Yes, there's actually, there's another picture if you don't have that one, that's a little bit closer up, as you can see. Yeah.
Be wood or metal, or do you?
Yeah, it could be wood or metal, yeah. Okay, so I'll amend what I just said, it could be wood or metal, yeah. So it could be, creating a shape that mimics this in wood, yeah. Okay. And then the entrance door at the first floor western facade, that choice is appropriate. It's replacing.
Which one is
Oh,
that?
okay, it's the door that was wood, but now it's a raised panel steel door. That's appropriate. That would be okay. So we can support that. Already discussed the metal skirters. Okay, so the windows, because your building is a low composite rating index. 50. Our window policy allows consideration of some additional materials. So I have to, my motion would include denial of the windows that are in there right now. The vinyl windows. And the appropriate replacement would be a wood or composite, which is a little bit cheaper. Or a metal clad wood. In the same configuration of the windows that you see in the historical photo. Which means like the same divided light. Yep. The same like sash size, which is basically like the wood that holds the glass together. And the same glass size, so it's kind of like it's making sure, I imagine there's no old windows in the basement or anything, right? No, okay.
No, there's
Okay, they're all right. So what's there is not the right material and it's not the right style of window, and it's really vinyl windows are just a different size altogether, so. Okay,
And if I may add,
Yes.
usually the board has the person like for replacement windows come back to the review board so that they can review the material and the dimensions.
oh,
and
okay,
everything.
all right, so I should
That
ask
should
her to
be,
do that, that should be,
yes,
okay,
yes.
all right. And we would ask that before anything is purchased. That the material and the manufacturer and the style of window be submitted to the board before anything is purchased. Thank you, Amy. Yeah. Okay, and then as far as the large picture window, if you would like to come back with a different proposal that would include that area that's covered in plywood that's in pretty rough condition. We could table that portion. But what I'd also like to do is, if that in fact is not the case, the vinyl window that is there is not appropriate. The style is because it's a picture style window.
Which window are you?
The large window off to the side that has the plywood next to it, the wood that's all deteriorated. That one.
It's not vinyl, it's metal.
Metal, I'm sorry. Okay, so it is metal. It's metal. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, all right. So that metal, could you say it's like half hanging out right now, or it's not?
No,
Okay.
lo que pude coger lo puse para acá otra vez, lo que no aguanto con todo.
What I could put back, I did put back and I have it, it's held on with some screws.
Okay, so I would say you're gonna need to repair that window, but the material would be appropriate. Okay, so you can retain that window, but you would need to repair it.
Asegurarla,
Okay,
secure it.
yes. But if you do choose to do something with the plywood that's there, that's in rough condition, you want to do something different, let's say you want to put like another window in there, that would have to be a different application. Okay, okay. But she could infill it with another piece of plywood and paint it, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so if you want to secure it better, you know, you can put another piece of plywood in there and paint it to protect it. Yeah, that's fine too. Because you're not changing, even though we know that's not original, but you're not changing what the condition is now. You're just replacing the same material.
In that
For-
condition.
Yeah.
Very long.
And actually, the whole thing was blocked up, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, and then the stucco work has been repaired, fine, and painted, so that's appropriate. Yeah.
No, eso estaba así, esto es tuco. Yo lo vi así, yo no le he tocado. No.
It's fine. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're good. And then the vinyl siding, that's, I don't know if I said that, but that's appropriate as well. She can retain the vinyl siding. Oh, thank you. Yes, you're welcome, of course. And then the bollards, we have no issue with the installation of bollards, but I think the application showed them very close together. And what's more appropriate spacing is anywhere between 3 and 5 feet. So because you requested 2, I can include a 3-foot spacing between the bollard. That will, you'll be able to get a couple bikes through there. That's it. No, yeah.
Postes.
That'd be it.
Ella que tiene que ser de 3 a 5 pies, porque usted lo tiene a 2 pies exclusivos. De 3 a 5 pies.
Sí, pero lo voy a poner a 3 pies.
So I'm gonna put it 3 feet.
3 feet, yeah,
Porque si lo
yes.
pongo a 5, los cajos se meten por el medio.
It's not better if it's 5 feet.
Yeah, somebody will go sideways maybe right now.
Yeah, 2 high
Yeah,
and 3 wide.
3 wide, yes, yeah,
Mhm.
2 feet high, 3,
Dos
3,
pies
yeah,
y
3 foot spacing, yeah,
Para que los cajones no se caigan.
Yeah. so
All right.
I saw both of them.
exactly, yeah. And then the handicap accessible parking sign is appropriate, that's
And
fine,
I know they,
yeah.
¿Y dónde que lo voy a poner? Where do I put that? Que yo ahora yo no sé si al frente de la tienda
I don't know
o
if it's in front of us.
At this, like, on the
Yeah.
building at the space, right?
Yeah, Miguel has it on the plan.
And the plan.
Está en el plan.
Ah, ok. En el front of the store, ok.
Yep.
Eh,
And then any other signage, like if this is gonna be a business, any other signage, you need to make sure that you come before you submit an application for your business signage. Before you buy any sign.
Pero que me hace this.
Yeah, pero. Yeah, to English. I don't know if you understand my Spanish, but and that size in here, you have the post. The metal post, I think before I had the sign angle in there.
You had signs. on
Oh,
the
there's
post.
out in the yard.
Mhm.
Yes, there's an old metal bracketed, I'm sorry, a wooden post with a bracket on it that I think Konopelski used to have. It's been there forever.
Oh.
And metal, yeah, metal.
It's
There's a
metal.
metal bracket,
Oh.
right?
Oh, I saw it,
Yeah,
yes, okay.
yeah, it's out towards the side.
Where you can.
Can I put a sign there?
Yeah,
Eso es lo que yo usaba.
That's what I was gonna use.
Oh, really?
What kind of sign?
it hasn't had a sign for years with the sign post, but you have, before you make a sign, you have to present a proposal to the.
Okay.
Yes, so, yeah, so that the board would be favorable to you using that existing post and area, but don't buy any signs until you submit an application, okay? Because we have very, we're really, you think we're picky tonight, we're really picky about signs, okay?
Que son
Super
todavía
picky,
más.
yes.
They gotta be metal.
Sí, pero si ellos me
No,
dan-
no. We'll make sure that, that
si ellos me
understand what
dan
the
algo
guidelines are.
que me
Yeah.
enseñen algo que le puedo poner, algo así, para que lo ponga.
But if you show me something that was there before and it's simple, I would use it.
I have never seen a photo of what was there.
Porque yo lo que voy a poner son como un nombre pequeño.
The name is small.
Yeah, but think about the signage and, submit a proposal for that.
Letrero, a veces someterlo son like.
Pero que necesito saber qué aprueban para yo traerse.
But I need to know, get an idea of what will be approved so that I can.
I can give her the sign policy and then that,
What is somebody that I was there.
yeah, for. Yes, it does in terms of the size of the building. I'm thinking because it's not going to be on the building. It'll discuss if you want to put a sign like on the building or use that post.
No,
It'll-
ahí guindando ahí, algo guindando ahí, que diga el nombre donde uno está yo pongo.
Yeah, something hanging on there that has the name where the post is.
That'd be nice. We always like when applicants can reuse kind of older sign posts and things like that, yeah. Okay, all right.
The
Okay.
policy will give all of the requirements of what she has to submit, and it will discuss appropriate sizes.
Okay.
La política le explica todo de los cuadros y cuáles son los requisitos.
Yes, but do you want to give a time limit? Usually it's 6 months to a year.
Okay.
To correct the
Okay,
violation.
all right. So typically, like 180 days is the timeframe that we allow for the changes and the alterations to get made or to bring it back to the standard that we're asking.
Solamente le permitimos 180 días para que usted haga los remedios necesarios y luego se los pueda sacar para ese lado.
And we understand sometimes building materials are difficult to get, so I would, yeah. So we're gonna say 180 days, that's pretty typical, but if you find that that's becoming difficult, what we don't want to do is keep it open-ended. It's important to have like a deadline with that. But if you find you're 3 to 4 months into it, your materials are late, or back ordered or something, make sure that, I think we'll have to bring that before the board just to give an extension on that.
So usted tiene 180 días. Sabemos que los materiales a veces son difíciles de conseguir, pero si usted pasa un 3 o 4 meses, tiene que estar teniendo dificultad para conseguir los materiales, solicita una extensión.
And that's my motion.
Y esa es mi petición.
Someone want to second that, please?
I'll second it.
Mr. Politica,
Yes.
Ms. Weller,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes,
Okay. Ms. Johnson will be in touch with you with all the details about what Ms. Weller just her motion, so you can understand it better.
Y si encuentro lo de la ventana, tengo que presentárselo primero a ella antes de.
And if I do find the windows, I can present it to you first.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Y después tengo que venir para meeting otra vez.
And then come back to the meeting.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, take care.
This one, or are you gonna say?
Actually, let me keep that and then if I can set up an appointment with her. And I can make copies, I can give you copies.
No, ya me va a tocar. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for your rounds.
Howard?
I'll let her know.
Same person on one here.
Like, is there?
Education outreach, education outreach and policy training. Yeah,
Thank you, Rennie.
thank you very much, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Am I cute?
Yes, that's my style.
You better hustle out of here while you have the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Nice night.
Okay. Did everybody have time to review the applications approved at staff level?
Oh, do you want to do? or-
Oh, yeah, I guess.
532.
Oh, right, yeah.
You had no communication. with them.
No, he came in to give me the application or to give me information. Before our executive committee meeting, but I wrote him an email and he had emailed me. I responded to that email and he never has responded. But this one's pretty straight.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
it is, yeah.
So, okay, so this is 532 Franklin Street. And tonight we are reviewing the proposal for the installation of a wall mounted sign and vinyl cling sign in the 2 first floor storefront windows. And the Secretary of the Interior standards that applies to this application is number 2, 5, and 6, of which I read earlier, in the HARB sign policy. And you all have a copy of what is being proposed. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to give you this too. I think this is, yeah. Okay. Yeah, copies. See it, Martin.
Oh, thanks.
And the HARB Executive Committee did determine that what is being proposed does meet the sign policy in terms of overall size of the signage, square footage. I should have redone that calculation, but we did calculate.
Yeah, we
it at the
did,
meeting.
yeah, it was under the threshold.
And it's appropriate as far as just being the name of the business. And I do see that the door has been changed and I'll send a violation letter for the entrance door.
And that small little sign that's in like the there's the picture window that has the little vinyl replacement window in there, and then to the right of that, I didn't notice that there's it's like a poster or something.
Yeah, that's an old. Photo.
Old photo, okay.
Yes,
Oh, sorry, right. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I see. So the only exception is really the light fixture that's up there.
yes, and
Yeah.
so I did send him the board's comments and he did not reply back to me, so. That might have, I'm assuming that, there was a wall mounted fixture up there. Previously, in a picture I have from 2011. But it was not that wall mounted picture, or wall mounted light, so. I don't know when when the new one was installed, or if this person was in.
Did you include that picture in our packet here? Of the light?
It's the picture that has the window in it, the old picture. I think, yeah, I included.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So that's a different light fixture from 2011, to the one that's on there now. I'm just seeing that there has been
it
a
is,
light
you're
fixture
right.
out there for quite a
Yeah,
while, but the executive committee noted that's inappropriate.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that one wasn't appropriate either, the old one.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, I'll make a motion, nothing else wants to. No, yeah, okay, all right. I moved
Thank
it,
you.
yeah, I moved it to COA for 532 Franklin Street, for the installation of, sign Mota Brothers Good Distribution. And the sign is appropriate and meets the requirements of the sign policy. However, the light fixture that is up there, I would move that either it be removed or the applicant return to the board, well, or come to the board rather, and submit something that would be more appropriate, such as gooseneck lighting or something else more historically sensitive to the building.
Someone want a second?
Second.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes,
Mr. Colchigo,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller.
Yes.
All right, now back to the applications approved by staff. Did everybody have a chance to read those? Someone want to make a motion to accept those?
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second that. No, it's not that one.
All in
Yeah, that's
favor? Vote. I don't have my paper with me. I
Yep.
apologize.
No problem. Yep, I.
Any opposed? Other business.
I would just like to bring up another business property 253 North Fifth. On the second floor on the Elm Street side, there is a window that is clearly open that birds or maybe not necessarily people, but definitely birds could get into. They haven't already.
253 North.
Yeah, it's that one. Good to know.
That's the one that's been. There's a new owner
Is that
of
the other
that.
barber?
The
Is that
barber
barber
shop,
on
yes.
the corner, yeah.
There is a new owner of that recently reached out to our department for information. Just trying to think what transpired, but we've given them, yeah, I know that I wrote them with all of the hard regulations, but that property seems to flip
Mhm.
quite often. But where did you say the window was? I'm sorry.
Second floor on the Elm Street side. Looks like there's two, but when you look close to the second one, it actually still has a window, but the other one really is out.
Okay. And there was graffiti up there too. I
Yes,
noticed,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's good, it is a beautiful building.
There's a fire escape, so that's how they're.
That's how they're getting,
Oh, that's-
yeah, so there's a chance that they could be getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's vulnerable, obviously, yeah.
And I've seen pictures because of the fire, it's completely gutted, and I think, I don't know, somehow the building gets flipped and then they start looking into all what.
The issues,
And
And then they sell
what
it
has to
again.
go into it and they sell it again, yeah, that's my assumption.
Mhm.
I'm sure you're probably right.
I think it's a good assumption.
Safe, at least that's for sure.
But I'm sorry, I did not get a chance to look at any of the properties from the past months. So I don't have any more on the staff report.
Any committee reports? Guess we need to do elections of all. Sorry, so that would be chair, vice chair, secretary. That's it.
Yep.
So, is there any nominations?
I'll nominate Nigel Walker to continue as chair for 2023. What's that?
I'm gonna nominate you for vice chair for the end, till the end of 2023.
Okay, I think say into perpetuity, but yeah, but we're not. I think we need a second
a
for your
second,
nomination
yeah.
first, yeah.
Oh,
I'll second.
That's okay. And then I'll accept Nigel's nomination as vice chair. Did you say vice chair or secretary? Vice chair, okay, thank you.
And then
Mr. McDevitt. second.
Oh, you did, oh, okay,
Yes.
second, okay, sorry, I didn't hear that, okay. Because of that hard. No, I just mean, does anybody want a second, I don't, yeah.
Is anybody interested in the secretary position that needs to be filled?
You can make eye contact and still say no.
it's like,
It's a great opportunity to like be very prepared for meetings instead of rushing in and
that's true.
looking at stuff at the last minute. No? We need way more than that to entice you, right?
At the moment, my plate is full.
Okay.
It's over.
Okay, preservation, oh,
To do
A vote.
chair first,
Yeah.
I guess you do
Oh.
a vote, but then you have to if you're gonna. Nominate her as vice
I
chair.
did.
She did, and I
Did
nominated her
somebody
as chair.
Second.
Mike did.
Oh, yeah,
Second.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought we were still on
That's
the
okay.
first one, okay, sorry, wait a minute, chair. So.
And then, preservation accommodations, I know, Rick, you sent an
Yeah, I
email.
sent an email with a picture, so,
I've seen that one too, that is a beautiful building,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, really, one thing that they did with that building that probably was never done before was they accented all the flowers and stuff and the motifs and stuff. And made it look better than it probably ever did. It really stands out. I mean,
Yeah.
and to me, I mean, as much as you look at it and it's like the one door is not done and it does have shingles on the eave in the front, you know, but when you look at the overall picture, not just nitpick at little pieces here and there, I mean, that's a good advertisement for this is what you could do with buildings, no matter where they're at in the city, you know, as opposed to remodeling them up, you
Yeah.
know.
And what was the address on the property?
903 Buttonwood, it's right next to what the old zigzag bar used to be across from, is that Salinas there?
Might be close to-
903 9th?
Buttonwood.
It's like one, yeah, one in.
Yeah.
Two in.
The market used to
Oh,
be
I see.
Selena's, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. It's right
I
across the
don't
street.
know if we'll have an updated picture in that area.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay.
Um,
Well, when they moved everything off the square back in the 1870s, they went out to the neighborhoods, you know, and that's one of the ones that went out to the neighborhoods.
She was raised there.
Well, there was three rental markets there, one in Windsor was a little further up. Nine some Buttonwood, so there was a few blocks up, was a tenth of Windsor. Tenth of Windsor had its own stable and it had its own hotel, which said hotel, St. Elmo's Hotel is supposed to stand.
St. Elmo's.
And the
really St. Elmo's.
yeah, and the stable still reason, the only one that's missing is the market, everything else is there, yeah.
Rick, 903, they recently did more work to it?
Not that I'm aware of,
It's brown,
it was brown at once, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was the older picture.
that was the old picture, oh, okay.
The one you sent was.
The new, that was what's done, yes, that's what's done, yeah.
Usually while we're talking about this, the, April or May, it's terrible. No, May is National Preservation Month. And so usually by April, we have our list of, nominations for approval.
Mhm.
So just to put that in everybody's head, if we can, I'll go through my notes and see what has been suggested before
Okay.
or thus far, which it hasn't been many. But if we should really have a final list, because we'll be able to do it in front of council
Yeah,
in May this year, because we'll be in person finally, but to have usually like at the April
I mean,
meeting. we
I had to
have
keep
votes.
my eyes open when I go around town, you know. and-
Yeah, no, I do too. Yeah,
You know, I spotted that one, I don't go out 9th Street that often, but,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
hello, you know, it was like, and, on the other end, I don't know, did something happen that 245 North Fifth, that all that gaudy decoration was taken down?
Yes.
Thank God.
There was a
God.
complaint and I sent a violation letter. And I think codes also worked with them because they contacted them about having the trash can in front there too. It wasn't a property maintenance violation, and I don't know if fire got involved too, just as a fire hazard. But then I got an email from the owner saying that they had removed everything and showed me a picture, so yes.
The funny part about it is it has stuck out and just like, oh my God, every time I go by it, I was walking by it and I walked right past it and it was like I was a block away. Wait a minute, it's like I had to walk back and go look. It's like,
Yes, I mean, it's hard to know how to treat that because it is sort of decorations, which we don't.
but it's excessive.
It had reached the point where it was excessive and there was actual structural elements.
Okay.
Like he had taken like old wooden posts and he had mounted them somehow, and so that's what I wrote the violation letter.
Yeah, El Dorado or whatever, there, over top of that.
Yes,
The doorway.
yes. Yeah.
And that
So,
was signage right there. That was-
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Right there, he was violating the signage policy anyway.
yes,
So, when we get right down to it.
All right,
Oh, can I say something? Did we vote on nominations? I think we voted on them. I think we just made the nominations. We didn't
Oh,
vote on
for-
them.
We
the
made the
office.
Yeah, for the
nominations, and I
office.
seconded, it,
Yeah,
but we didn't.
yeah, you
Okay.
didn't take
We
a
didn't do a
full.
But it could just be
everyone
like a voice
in favor,
vote,
yeah,
just
yeah.
all- and all in one.
all in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Let's have it. That's adjournment then, till next month. Thank you, everybody.
I will not be here next month.
Myself, there.
We need a motion to adjourn, so.
Oh,
I moved to adjourn.
I
Second.
I second,
There you go.
before anybody speaks, let me turn this.